It was a weekend trip with a group of close friends. They called it an annual trip, despite this time being only the second year. They arrived in the early evening after a relatively short drive. About 3 hours, not including stops. This trip wasn't a very long one, but they were strangely drained in the way that you feel drained after any sort of travel, even though all you were doing was simply sitting, waiting to get from point A to point B. The whole group had been anticipating this trip for weeks. They all had their unique struggles and stresses that they were excited to have an escape from, even just for a weekend. They were a group of 7. The 7th was given the sofa bed in the living room, so the other guests tried to accommodate her by being quiet in the morning and not too late to bed at night. One of the guests was awake early as she had a few tasks she wanted to complete that morning. She tiptoed and clicked away silently as to not wake the 7th. She was creating something, some sort of film. She was battling with the excitement that comes along with the idea of a new creative project and being considerate of the other guests, as to not put a strain on the enjoyment of their weekend. She was always worried she was bothering others, but didn't want that feeling to stop her from doing the things that she wanted to do.
Hi. Whenever I go on trips, I feel like I need to, or I want to, not that I need to, but I feel an urge to capture things and like make content for like YouTube and Instagram and like think of all of the different ways that I can like be arty and like capture this experience of like travel in a cool way. So many trips that I've been on, I've like wanted to film things and like capture more, but it's awkward. You don't want to like be having like a nice moment with everybody and then be like, okay guys, I'm gonna get my camera. Everybody just act natural, you know? Yeah, so many trips I've been on, I've, wanted to capture lots and I just didn't because I was shy or I was like scared to, or I was like with people or whatever. So it's a balance of doing what I want to do, getting the things that I want to get and capture, but also, like enjoying the vacation and not making it weird for other people and stuff, so.
As the house rose with the daylight outside, she spent her morning drawing in her sketchbook, enjoying this change of scenery. The beautiful and private-feeling house surrounded by forest. She was the type of person that felt very affected by the setting that she was in. Being in these surroundings, she felt pressure to make the most of her time. That was, capture footage for her film, enjoy drawing in her sketchbook, and have fun with friends. But above all, she had to relax. This was vacation after all. This was the time to relax. That day, the whole group had a little field trip to a town just north of them called Invermere. It was small, but they found lots of little wonders in the boutique shops downtown, some of which were etched into a sketchbook later on. They found a gnome, a bear hugging a snowman, another, smaller snowman, a bird, and one final snowman, but this one was on skis. Later at a candy store, she met a dog whom she loved dearly. She would never forget this dog.
Hi, Robbie. Hi. Hi. Oh, you're so cute.
After exploring the town, a few of them made a trek up to some natural hot springs. The area they were located featured some wonderful, naturally occurring hot springs, all tucked within a beautiful mountain range in the background. This scene was inspiring to the guest. She tried to make the most of this feeling while she was in it.
Really, just stay there.
While capturing it on film, of course. They stopped by a large sign to take some photos. This had become a ritual of sorts whenever this group would travel together. Take lots of photos to post to the internet later. The next morning, the whole house, except for one who decided not to go to the hill, was up in the early hours before the sun rose. This was the day that everyone would enjoy some time on the mountain, sliding down with skis and snowboards. The one guest was determined to bring a small sketchbook with her, to hopefully doodle in with any free time that she caught. So we're going to the ski hill today. That's basically the point of this trip, is to ski. I've brought my sketchbook to hills before, like last year I tried bringing my sketchbook to the mountain while we were snowboarding, and I just put it in my friend's backpack. But I didn't use it. But this year I have my like little mini sketchbook, and so I'm thinking it could fit in like one of my pockets. Perfect. By the time they arrived, the sun had gone up, and it was seeming like it would be a perfect day to enjoy the hill. The refreshing snow and being surrounded by nature and friends was recharging and fulfilling for the group. Catching a second alone in the silence of the mountain was particularly satisfying. The group came in for lunch, and the one guest thought to draw some of the people around her while they waited for their food. It was just a couple of scribbles, but making use of her sketchbook and capturing the moment on film gave her a sense of accomplishment that felt like a pass to enjoy the rest of the day freely. After lunch, it was a mission of a few of the guests to indulge in a few tree beers, as it was called. While something like this was common tradition on ski hills, the guests felt giddy at the thought of partaking in this somewhat unencouraged behavior in the stealth of the trees. After a long day of going up and then back down a snow-covered hill, the group settled in with a couple more drinks and enjoyed unwinding in the hot tub. Slightly melancholy at the fact that this short trip was coming to an end, there was a feeling of relief and relaxation that the day had gone well. The next morning, after a final breakfast in their Airbnb, the group had packed up and headed home. The guest, the one with the sketchbook and the anxiety, had broken out her drawing tools for one last session, recording on paper what she saw during the trip. As she sketched, she asked herself, "Was all my anxiety worth it? Did I get enough footage to make an interesting film?" Drawing these last pieces in her sketchbook felt like a final saving grace, that if she could just add a few more clips of her drawing, that would be enough to make something that people would love. While the weekend was a welcome escape and a great collection of memories to keep dear, like it tends to, the self-initiated pressure of making the most of her time took up much space in her mind. She was glad to have captured these memories in the way that she did. She valued the special feeling one would get when looking at old photos or videos of a happy time. But she couldn't help but wonder, if she allowed herself to be more present during the trip, would she have had a better experience that was worth more than the physical footage of the experiences had? She decided that it wasn't something to dwell on, but perhaps something to think about the next time this dilemma presented itself.
Do you think animals go in there?
No.
Because it's warm.
It's hot.
But not like,
Further up you go, the hotter.
I guess.